and what we were 51 minutes into.
51 minutes in.
Fucking hell. We're about to start a debate here that I put up on the Instagram, and it was pretty much a 50-50 split. I think it was like 51. I'm just going to pull up the exact numbers. But the question was, anyway, who was the better midfielder? And that goes Paul Scholes or Steven Gerrard. Paddy, I'm going to go to you on this one, obviously being a United fan. So just me being a neutral between these two, the way I've seen it is any United fan I've asked has been, like, if we're looking, imagine this being a table, right? There's A, there's fucking Z. United fans have been here and saying, like, there's absolutely Gerrard's here. And then I could literally ask a Liverpool fan and it would go like that. And then it's the other way around.
That was a great analogy, that was.
I mean,
I like
top
that.
to bottom.
It's completely flip, like.
No, I wouldn't. Like, Gerrard is one of the best midfielders of the Premier League era.
I don't mean in terms of his ability in relation to anyone else, just in comparison to Paul Scholes.
Paul Scholes is a better midfielder for what he's done for his club and for the recognition he gets from the people he's played against. If you look at the best players in the world, Zidane, Pirlo, Iniesta have all bigged up Paul Scholes. They've all said he's one of the best midfielders they've ever played against. I've heard very few statements.
I've seen are like maybe like
made up.
Like,
you see the same.
I've seen them saying it. I've seen them saying it.
No,
I see the videos of them being interviewed. No, the interviews of them. Also, their voices are being dubbed now.
I want you to provide.
Shabby doesn't speak English. I presume it is being dubbed.
I want you to provide me with these videos, and I'll post them on the Instagram story just so people can see these stories, because I am eager. So you're 100% Paul Scholes, no question.
Well,
if you break it down a little bit more, what are you kind of looking at, like, in terms of why is he so much better?
Paul Scholes, for the amount of league trophies he's won, but I'd still put Roy Keane above Paul Scholes for what he's done for the club. To be quite honest, I think he's the best midfielder of the Premier League era, not for his skill, but for what he's done for the team. But it's not Roy Keane conversation. I think Paul Scholes for what he did, for he controlled that team for years and years, and a championship winning team. He was one of the main players to keep them going forward. Steven Gerrard, as amazing as he was, they never won the Premier League, and the one time they were close to it, he fucked it up for them.
Cuts deep.
Which he did, though. So I don't really. There's not much of an argument in it for me. Like, it is close. For me, it's close, definitely. I can understand why Liverpool fans, obviously the loyalty, but loyalty makes you blind sometimes as well. Scholes won a lot more than Gerrard in the time he was there. And that's where it really comes down to. How many medals have you got? Show me your medals at the end of your career.
Yeah, me and Walter were looking it up, and I think was it 25 trophies in total that Scholes had.
Yeah, Scholes has 11 Premier Leagues and 2 Champions Leagues.
Yeah, and 25 trophies in total. So Walter, I'm going to go to you next, and then I'll probably jump to Connor. Scholes or Gerrard? Give me your breakdown. Give me your analysis of this one, and let me know what you've got to say about this one.
I am in between. I'm not as much for Scholes as Paddy is now. Passing wise, Scholes is 100 times better than Gerrard, without a doubt. Any bit of passing, Scholes is 100 times better. For long shots or shots outside the box, would you say they're equal? I'd potentially go Gerrard a little bit more. Tackling, it's Gerrard 100 times over, because Scholes cannot tackle. And if it's the question of who's the better midfielder, are you talking about who's the better all-round midfielder?
Yeah, well, it would be because you have to. Yeah, you do have to break this down. Like I was saying it to you earlier, Walter. I was kind of saying, like, right, fair enough. You could just have one argument where you go, well, just look at what he's won, and that's exactly what Paddy's done. He's just gone, well, what has he won? Like, I want to kind of, like, if you were to put down a list of categories, right? Tackling, passing, long passing, short passing, chances created, goals scored, like game winning stuff, like, you know, like although obviously I haven't got this in front of me and we're not going to break it down like that, but that's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for just like, well, look, he didn't win any trophies. I just want to know, as an all-round player, who was the better, who was the more talented, who could walk into a team that's struggling and change it much more than the other?
I think they both can, and I think Scholes will change it different to Gerrard. And I think a part of the conversation is who you're going to have beside these people. Because for Scholes, you need a midfielder beside him that's going to sit a bit more. Gerrard probably doesn't need that as much because he has the ability to get up and down the pitch.
I think Gerrard was left to do all the work on, wasn't he? Like, he was left to do all the work in midfield, as opposed to at least Scholes had Kane.
Yeah, well, look, there was a time when Gerrard was sitting there beside Javi Alonso and had that kind of player beside him as well. So let's not fucking beat around the bush here. They still didn't manage to win a league with that, like, him beside him. Like, so, I'm not letting anything slide where, like, you can say, like, that players didn't have players beside them.
Scholes a better technical player, but I think Gerrard was probably a better leader.
Yeah. Well, look, if I'm looking at it from a neutral, I wouldn't have seen Paul Scholes as a leader. I would have seen him as a player that really would have controlled the pace of a game. I wouldn't have called it a leader in terms of, like, what you get with Roy Keane, where he's fucking kicking you up the arse and he's giving you that bit more.
Like, by example, maybe.
Yeah, maybe just in terms of him just, like, controlling the game. Like, I think what you were saying, that you needed someone, Paul Scholes needed someone maybe deeper, did he? Is that what you were saying?
Deeper, because he can't tackle. Like, you know, like, we all know this. Paul Scholes can't tackle.
I would have thought, like, but, like, coming out of the back, obviously, yeah, for cover going forward, he would have definitely needed that. But when you look at kind of him, you know, you're playing out from the back or whatever, he was definitely one that used to always kind of drop and get the ball and kind of hit that long pass.
Right, yeah.
So he kind of got away with it a bit, because he was so good at them long passes where he wasn't trying to hit a 30-yard pass. It was breaking down, and all of a sudden he was getting caught out. Like, he was kind of getting away with them passes because he was able to pick.
That was later on in his career, though.
Yeah,
that was when he was a bit slower. Like, you know, he stopped running into the box as much and stuff. You know, he set back and he controlled the pace of the game.
Yeah. But
in his younger days, he wouldn't have been that. He would have been much more forward up the pitch. Like.
So what? Just going back, you're not as kind of convinced.
I'm not more leaning towards. I think it's very close. Like, I'm leaning towards Scholes, but I think it is very close.
Connor, we'll go to you. Just obviously being the only Liverpool fan here, we were hoping Melon would be on to kind of have your back as well here. Yeah, but obviously not. So, what do you reckon? Like, are you 100% Scott Gerrard, or are you kind of?
No, I think Paddy touched on it. It depends on what team you throw them into. I think for that Liverpool team, I know you touched on, like, Alonso, Mascherano, midfield. That's kind of when Gerrard found himself pushed out onto the right-hand side, probably one of his poorest seasons. It's when, as Paddy mentioned, when he didn't really have anybody around him, and ultimately what Gerrard did was grab games by the scruff of the neck. Wasn't pretty most of the time. It was determination, grit. He got on with games, and he brought the best out of players who did have a bit of talent around him. If he had Torres playing up front off him, but he had no wide players, he brought the best out of Torres. If he had two up front with Suarez and Sturridge, but he had still Jermaine Pennant on the left, he obviously brought the best out of the two lads up front. If I was going to look and say who would suit Liverpool better right now with a more of an all-round team, it's 100% Paul Scholes. I think one of the things you mentioned there was, if a team was struggling, who would I bring in to turn things around? It would probably be Gerrard. Well, Paul Scholes just dictated tempo. He made games go faster. He made games go slower. He controlled how hard players worked on and off the ball. Like, he controlled how a game went. And if he wanted the game to move quickly, the game started to move quickly. And if he wanted to slow the tempo down, the game slowed down. Like, there's nothing anybody else on the pitch could do anything about. So again, it's almost like that. The way I'd see it is like that Ronaldo Messi one of, they both did something well in their own right. Scholes, much better winner, 100%. Did an equal amount for his team, and obviously had great success off of it. Gerrard didn't have the level of success. Did he try? Yeah, 100%. Does he have the same technical ability kind of we touched on? Probably not, no. But he had that engine. It's kind of what he relied on up until he was, 33, 34, still playing with Liverpool at the top end of the Premiership. So I really think it does depend. If you were to say to Scott Parker tomorrow morning to get them out of the relegation zone, who would suit them better to pull them out of the mess? Steven Gerrard. But if you had to if he said to United now, and I'm not saying it could be different because of the players who are there, but you're saying we're looking for someone we have quality around, we're looking for someone to control a game, to bring them in, to control tempo. You're bringing Paul Scholes in all day long.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think you're being a little bit harsh as well on Gerrard at the same time by saying
he's the best. He's the best one. Would I had Scholes at that and any of those Liverpool teams he played in ahead of him? 100% not. Scholes would have been wasted in a team like that without. I'm not saying he relied on. He didn't need quality around him, but his talents came out when he had quality to spread the ball too, and when you could rely on someone in behind for a goal, or even I only watched there last weekend. Him and what's that thing that Neville does? It's like his Saturday chat where they sit around with a bowl of sweets and they watch fucking goals.
But
Scholes
on the couch.
But Scholes was on with him anyway. And he was showing like all the goals he scored off the floated corners out to him, and he hit them on the volley. He had some quality to deliver the ball. Steven Gerrard would have to take the corner and then hit it himself at the end of it, you know. Apart from like having Xavi Alonso with the team with him, so I would never take back what Gerrard did for Liverpool in obviously not the brightest of days for Liverpool, but obviously Scholes was the perfect person at United for those whatever he was there 16 years.
Yeah, even coming back.
Coming back.
Yeah, coming back out of retirement and being kind of that age and still kind of running the show like.
Poxy manager and Poxy at betting as well. But we'll let that slide.
Yeah. we don't let stuff like that slide on this show. So Laura, what do you reckon? Would you be a 100% Paul Scholes, or would you be what would your opinion be on this?
I don't think I need to add too much more to that, to be honest. I think both of the lads touched on it there. It depends on what team.
Both of the lads. So who didn't say anything of use or value? There's three of us have said something.
We can all believe it's us. It's okay. Don't answer that. We can all believe
he's just ignored Connor, and he's like the two United lads have said everything.
Did anyone notice just before this Kieran screen went black in the background, like he's set into the fucking mastermind chair? But
specialist subject Paul Scholes.
I just absolutely failed. I know. I agree with the lads. Like,
how many lads?
This time I'm going to say it depends on what team you put them into, you know. And I think they're both very top quality players in their own right. I would say Paul Scholes would be the better all-round player, but in terms of, like Connor said, in terms of drive and grabbing games with a scruff of the neck, when she hits the fan, Gerrard's fantastic to have in your team. So I don't think I need to add too much more to it. Just kind of go around in circles.
I think a good point maybe to make of it would be look at what they done in the England squad, because they were out of their elements there, and when they came in, Scholes was kind of always, he was played out on the wing. He never got really, and what you've got to ask, why is that? When like Gerrard and Lampard were kind of used in the middle and Scholes wasn't. Was that because he wasn't as much of an enforcer as the other two lads? Although Lampard probably wouldn't have been, but maybe they put Lampard in because was it the media that got them in? Scholes
would have got.
That's where Lampard got in, yeah. And what about Gerrard over Scholes in the England squad?
It's an interesting one with kind of Scholes in the England squad. Like you were saying there, he was played a lot kind of out of
position.
Out of position. So I'm kind of, I would kind of scrap that England squad in terms of like that being a comparison, because like you had the likes of Gerrard there playing as well, who didn't really suit with Lampard, and that was always a massive thing with England. Like it was always like Gerrard and Lampard can't play together, or else you're picking one or the other. Like.
Look at every player in that England squad. Big, massive personalities who love to smell their own shite. And Scholes wasn't one of those players. Very quiet, subdued character. Like, so,
it is. It's an interesting one, lads. I'm gonna ask you a quick one, right? And now you're gonna fucking shut me down straight away. But Lampard in there? No.
Scoring
Again,
goals,
he's
yeah, without a doubt.
different player again.
Yeah.
Like Paddy said.
But he's still classed as a centre midfielder, and that's what I was talking to a couple of lads in work about Lampard, and they were like, "Well, do you kind of class him as a number 10?" I was like, "Well, not really. He played centre mid, just got forward a lot. I think he was very underrated. In terms of kind of
Very
his
underrated. You'd suck his cock if you walked into your house right now.
no,
How is
yeah,
he
100%.
underrated?
Yeah, no, 100%. But I mean, in terms of like his energy levels, like his getting around the pitch and stuff like that, I think he never really got the credit for that work rate that he done.
I don't think he was underrated. I just think there's less Chelsea fans, so there was less noise about him.
Yeah, maybe. But that's what. No, but I'm just saying in terms of his energy, not underrated as a whole, as a player, and obviously the goals and stuff he scored. Obviously not underrated and kind of.
Because anybody that knows anything about football would say he's up there with the two of them. Like the three of them, you couldn't really say definitively that absolutely the best, because they all have their own qualities that other players don't have, you know. And they're three of the best players of the Premier League era, three of the best midfielders of the Premier League era. No, players all over the pitch of the Premier League era. So you can't really argue
Bring in Paddy Vieira as well.
Yeah, you'd have to.
Yeah.
And if you're bringing
And
in him,
Roy
you're bringing in Keane. Yeah, you're bringing in Keane. So like five of the best midfielders that have played in the Premier League era. Would you put any kind of midfielders from today's game into it? No.
Not yet.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, Toure.
Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah.
Toure's not a bad shout. Like in terms of him kind of being compared with Scholes, Gerrard, and
On a
stuff.
suit check.
I don't think he gets a look in because it's obviously the English lads kind of get a bit more hype. But yeah, like the likes of you're bringing in them quality. Oh yeah, he was class. Like, well, if you're bringing in kind of the midfielders of back in the day, Roy Keane and Vieira are definitely two that come into the mix.
Like you need, I think, the English midfielders of today to go to the top clubs, because I think some of their best midfielders, say Grealish, Maddison, are at teams where they won't truly get the recognition that they probably deserve, and they deserve to be in better teams than they're in. I know Leicester are up there playing around top four and stuff like that, but they're not a big enough club, I don't think, for these type of players. They need to be a big club, I think.
Yeah, they're not a massive club as a whole, kind of. But look, they're working towards something there, and then Brendan Rodgers definitely has them playing pretty well. So, like you never know in the next couple of years where they're going to be at. But yeah, I do agree that they're not, in terms of like club stature, they're obviously not there. And yeah, it's an interesting one.
I can see them going. I can see them going to one of the bigger clubs.
All right, interesting. Lads, I'm going to fucking fly through a couple of these comments that are coming here because a couple of people need to be called out. Bullshit. Connor, this youngster, I don't know who he is, never heard of him, so I don't have an opinion on him. This fella here, never heard of him. Sorry, I'm gonna read out the names. Actually, no, I'm not gonna read out the names just in case it says something. Barack Obama, Pikey Dons, yeah, cheers for that. James Eaton, what should I call my pro club's keeper?
Peace Allens.
Peace Allens, yeah.
All in. Peace Allens, all in.
Peace Allens, yeah. I don't know.
I'm gonna do Izzy. You should call him.
No, you can't.
No,
shut up. No, you can't.
Barack Obama, pick E. So I don't know whether he's calling that name or he's calling us Pikeys. I don't know. Either way it's fine. You're all in dread, and then he comes back with inbred. So I don't think I need to say any more about that one. Erectile dysfunction is back. What's the crack?
You always come back after I have a few cans.
He's always there. He's always there when you don't want him. What's the crack on? Daniel Charles has come back inbred, so he's got there. He's got there in the end. So fair play to him.
Just look at the keyboard and press enter.
That's what happens when you have the 6 fingers in each hand. You just can't.
Jazzy and buffering. All right, that's great. Don't know what you're trying there. And then erectile, nice spelling lad, and he's taking the piss out of a guy that cannot spell inbred. So, yeah. So that's the comments that come in there, lads. So appreciate the bullshit that's coming there. Lads, I want just before we move on from that, I'm gonna ask. I'll go through each one of you, and I want your ranking. Paul Scholes, Gerrard, Lampard, Keane, and Vieira. So I'm going to put the pressures on you now. Paddy, I'm going to start with you.
Right now?
Yep.
Right.
No fucking around.
Keane number 1. Vieira number 2.
Oh, so you're saying Vieira better than Scholes, Gerrard?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
yeah. Again, show me your trophies. And I know Scholes has more, but I mean, for what he done for Arsenal, definitely had the team he was in. Right. Next, the next three, those two for me top. I'm going to go right. Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard.
Connor?
I'd be the same as Paddy. The two lads stand out. I'd probably have Vieira ahead of Kane. And then the other three are throwaways. Like literally pick them out of a fucking hat, to be honest. So
Yeah.
Well, I want you to rank them.
yeah, go on. I'll keep it the opposite then as Paddy. So I'll go with Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard, if that's the way we're going to be. But I don't really have an opinion either way. If you give me one of them, I'll take it.
Where's it going now? Lawler?
I'm going to go with Paddy. I'm going to have. Well, I have Kane, and I couldn't really give a bit of fuck about what order the rest of them go in. I'd have Kane, Vieira, and then the rest. Like Connor, don't really particularly care.
Yeah, but you have to because this is Connie's game.
Yeah, this is my game.
You won't be on next week.
I'm taking the ball and going.
Okay,
the only reason he wants it in order is because he's thrown Lampard in here. He wants to know where Lampard should go. That's 100% the reason.
Yeah.
No, give us a number. No number.
The next will be who's the best manager?
Hold on. I want to hear Lawler.
Kane, Vieira, Scholes, Gerrard, and Lampard. There at the end, I suppose he has to go in there. Hold on, are we putting Lampard in ahead of like anyone else?
Shut your face.
I think we should just do top four.
What have you gone with?
Oh, I think the lads have already said it. It has to be Keane, Vieira, and then it's going to be Scholes, Gerrard, and then Lampard. Like, I think Lampard slots in at the end after all of that.
Fair enough, lads. Fair enough.
What about you, Collie? You give it the 5.
Lampard.
I'm going
John Terry.
I'm going Lampard, Vieira, Kane,
You're a bullshitter.
Gerrard, and Scholes.
You're a bullshitter.
That's the way I'm going. That is the way I'm going. Lampard, Vieira, Kane, Gerrard, and Scholes. Yeah, I think for me, Gerrard was better all-round player than Scholes was. Scholes had passing ability, couldn't tackle, didn't score as many goals, didn't assist as many. That's why I'm putting it down to him.
You're a wind-up merchant.
He's going mental because we all picked Lampard number 5. He's going
No,
absolutely
look,
mental.
lads, if we're gonna
You
talk
didn't.
about-
You need to change hers and put Lampard at the bottom.
if we're going to talk about changing games, Scholes change games, Lampard is the highest scorer out of a lot of them. So that's all I'm going to say on that one. Lads, we're going to move on from this. Paddy just wants a quick one on this. This was your one, actually.